Welcome everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Dwayna Welch, and she's the author of Love Factually, 10 Proven Steps from I Wish to I Do. And I'm so excited to have her here today because today she's telling us the 5 things that belong on everyone's must-haves. So welcome, Dwayna, to the show.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. It's great to be back.
I know. So today you're going to tell us the 5 things that belong on everyone's must-haves. But first tell us, what made you write this book, Love Factually?
Basically, I was not very good at finding love without factual help. I'm one of these people that you have to prove it to me. I don't just believe advice that sounds good. And so I was crashing and burning a lot. And after a particularly bad breakup, I went to a bookstore where nerds go when our hearts are broken. And I thought, I'm getting a PhD in developmental psychology, but I wonder if somebody else got their PhD in love relationships. And a lot of people had actually gotten their PhDs and spent their lives doing research in relationship science, and it just revolutionized my love life. Other people started asking me for the information that helped me so much, and it eventually became this book.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. So tell us the first thing that belongs on everybody's must-have list.
Well, the first thing is that your gold standard needs to be somebody who is kind and respectful even when things aren't going his way.
And what do you mean by that, not going his way?
Well, I've met a lot of women and men who will make excuses for bad behavior in a partner. Oh, they're just having a bad day. Okay, none of us is the Dalai Lama, unless the Dalai Lama is watching this. Hi. The fact is we need to control ourselves and be good people even when things aren't going our way. And so what I'm talking about is the person who is not rude to the waiter, the person who does not speak disrespectfully about his ex, the person who does not make nasty comments about other women's appearance when you're out with them. Men who will do this will eventually treat you the same way. Look for kindness and respect, not just toward yourself, but toward everyone in his universe.
That's a really good point.
That's the first standard. And I will tell you, of all the things I'm going to tell you, research endorses that one the most strongly. You simply must have that as a requirement. I would even go so far as to say this. If you can find and be someone kind and respectful, your love life's going to go great. And if you can't, it won't. So that's the first thing.
Okay, tell us what the second thing is.
The second thing is you want somebody who wants the same amount and type of intimacy that you do. So research on attachment theory, attachment style, has shown that people vary really dramatically in how much intimacy they want, how bonded they really want to be with another person. And so you want someone who wants the same kind of intimacy that you want. So let's say that you want someone who, after sex, wants to snuggle. And this person wants to get up and take a shower every time. That's actually a huge red flag that you have different attachment styles. It's not just a quirk. It's a sign that you have either a secure attachment style or an anxious attachment style, and he has an avoidant attachment style. And that's not going to work, by the way. If you have a secure style, I go into the styles in my book, but if you have a secure style, you need someone with a secure or anxious style. If you have an anxious style, you want someone with a secure or anxious style. But if you're dealing with someone avoidant, someone who holds you at arm's length perpetually while having a relationship with you, do not mix with that person anymore once you know that, unless you also are avoidant. So that's the second thing.
I would think that if a guy was like that, where he would just get up and take a shower and was like that, it actually might make the woman actually become more needy.
Sure. So what happens a lot, research shows, is that these avoidant men actually pair with anxious women, and it makes the woman more and more anxious. It exacerbates these tendencies she already had. And there's never been a perfume called desperation. So basically it makes her seem desperate, and therefore he becomes less and less into her instead of more and more. Just don't go there. Find someone who needs what you need and move on.
Good point. Okay, so what's the third thing?
The third thing is that you want someone whose past won't ruin your future. So people often say, I get a lot of letters from people who basically say, this person has a huge red flag, should I pay attention to it? For example, this is a letter I actually got. A woman who says, this guy dated had an affair with his best friend's wife while he himself was married. Should I be worried about that? What do you think?
What do you think?
Gosh, you got to be real worried about that. Science shows that the single biggest predictor of what somebody's going to do is what they already did in a similar past situation. So if he already broke ties of loyalty to his wife and his best friend, and he's telling you this story with a gleam in his eye instead of sincere regret, as was apparently the case, yeah, he doesn't particularly have a problem with this behavior. If he has a long history of addiction and he hasn't had many years of sobriety, yeah, that's a big red flag. Don't ignore the single best information you have about what's going to happen next. I'm not saying toss everyone on the trash heap who has a past. I'm saying, how did they deal with that past? Did they overcome it and show sincere regret, and they've got several years of having overcome that past? Or have they just gleefully gone forward, repeating that past? It makes a difference.
Well, that is true, because no one's perfect, right? Everyone has some sort of a past, so you can't crucify everybody for something that they did, because it's like you said, if they learned from it and they moved on, or if they keep repeating it. So that's a really good point. So what's the fourth thing?
The fourth thing is someone who is at least as into you as you are into him. Women, evolutionary psychology is very clear. When men fall for you, if they fall for you, it's harder and faster than you fell for them. I know we like to think that we have to lure men into loving us, but actually a man who loves us so much that even if we didn't love them, he'd still love us. So if he doesn't love you, if he's not saying it first, if he's not showing it ardently, and you are falling deeply in love with him, you need to take a step back. Cool off, require it that you're going to have a partner who's as or more into you than you are into him. Because let me tell you what happens when women marry these men who are less into them, or they at some level partner with these men. They do all the heavy lifting in the relationship. It's not really a partnership, and you really want a partnership. So find a man who is at least as into you during the falling in love stage as you are into him. And then finally, I would urge you to find someone who heals rather than worsens your own issues. Suzanne, you just said it. We all have issues. We all have a past. We all have hot buttons, right? We have things that really bother us. And it's been very popular for people to assert, even therapists, to assert that the reason we get into intimate partnerships is to work on our stuff. Science shows that's not true. The reason we get into intimate partnerships is to have a good time. I encourage you to have that good time and not settle for anyone who brings out your worst and makes your issues worse. Find someone who makes you feel like your best self because you're having such a great time with them.
That is so true. And all these things sound so obvious, but I think a good point to bring up is when you're in it, you can't see all these things. And sometimes you kind of need to take a look at all these things because it's easy to have quote unquote blinders on, right? When you're so infatuated with somebody, right?
It is. I remember a relationship that I was in where the man didn't need the same amount of intimacy that I did at all. And I remember asking myself, is it selfish to want so much intimacy? I mean, it hadn't occurred to me that actually the main reason we get into relationships is for intimacy. That's not asking for too much. So even though it sounds obvious when I say it, when people are experiencing it, sometimes it's not that obvious.
That is so true. Well, these have been some great tips. So Dwayna, tell our audience how they can find you.
You can find me and my book. Yay! At Amazon.com in ebook, audio, and paperback. Or you could get a free chapter at my website, lovefactually, with an F, .co, lovefactually.co.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. If you like our show, it's available both in video format and podcast format. If you like the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. If you'd like to get our free ebook, The 3 Secrets Guaranteed to Attract Any Man, based on scientific research, you can click here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.